What's up, friendly neighborhood nerds? This is Judah Rad. I'm here with Robo Strange, or is it the strangest Robo? I don't know. We'll discuss it more later.
The
Returning
world
to
may
the
never know.
world may never know. Returning to the program is our friend, writer Stonie Williams. Today we're going to discuss Villainous from Mad Cave Studios. Issue 5 will be dropping on the 24th of February, and you can find issue 1 through 4 out in the wild. Definitely, you want to check it out. So, Stonie, what's new?
Gosh, right now we're battling this big ice storm. Luckily, we've been all right. Like we still have power, we still have heat. Nothing's busted yet. Knock on wood, right? But it's been cold as hell lately.
Yeah, wow. I'm in Texas, but I'm in El Paso, so I'm like just missing it.
Where are you at, Stonie?
Northeast Oklahoma.
Oh yeah.
Northeast Oklahoma. That's not like smack dab in the middle of this whole mess.
It's. I mean, we're getting a big piece of it. We've had people around here without power. They had to do some rolling blackouts, but nowhere near as bad as like parts of Texas. Jared Lewin, who's also from Mad Cave, he's had it rough. My best friend Aaron was without power for like 36 hours.
Ugh.
Yeah.
And when it's that cold, that gets dangerous quick. So.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And there's a food shortage there as well, in some certain parts.
All right, so last time we talked about issues 1 and 2 were out. Before we get into we talk a little bit. We'll do some non-spoilery stuff on issue 5. You want to give us like the recap 1 through 4? What's going on right now in Villainous?
Oh, let's see. So Tilly's a sidekick. She's figured out some things she wasn't meant to hear in issue 1. She figured out that her superheroes weren't quite as heroic as she thought. They gave her an ultimatum and then kind of made the decision for her after the fact. Blew up her apartment. She was kidnapped by the quote unquote bad guys, and to kind of a re-education kind of thing, and tell her how things really are. And let's see. So Tilly spilled the beans. She decided to go ahead and side with the Shadow Order and help them out, them take down the heroes that she put on a pedestal who turned their back on her and tried to kill her. Let's see, issue 3 and 4. They're going after the coalition and going to take them down. And they've decided to take the fight to them. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and kind of does that whole deal where you think it's gonna go your way, and then they figure out a way to fuck you, like life does sometimes. So, so number 5 is gonna drop here soon, right? What can we expect? What can fans expect from number 5? Is this the end of a volume? No, right? You're going out to how many volumes?
This is the last issue of the volume, and hopefully I give a satisfying ending, while still leaving enough breadcrumbs that we can pick up things later if Mad Cave wants to. So we do wrap things up to a certain extent. So I hope that, like I said, I like things that end. And so I hope we have a satisfying ending is my biggest hope out of this. So
the first volume, it's really 2 arcs within a single volume, sort of, would you say? The question I have is how many arcs do you currently have planned, like in your head? How far can this go?
I've got at least one more for a kind of a sequel arc. And then I have so much information for backstory at the beginning of the coalition that we could easily do a whole volume just on prequel backstory stuff on some of the main characters. So
are you talking like one shot, like a micro series one shots for like Lizarda and the various other characters, or?
I think I do a whole volume on Sedition and Pillars Past and them meeting and the lead up to forming the coalition. I think you could easily do one shots on some of the other characters. And I think that Jeff Zdarsky created some characters just for the background. He created so many that I just left up to him that don't have a backstory that people really clung on to. And I mean, from all over the series, people are like, we need to know about this guy, And so, I mean, definitely you could just keep going and going.
Makes me think of Mos Eisley Cantina and like Jabba's Palace, where like, oh, who's that guy that looks like a hammerhead? And then there's like a whole thing about him.
So the universe, especially as we get into issue 5, seems to be growing. The characters, like you were just talking about. As the universe grows, does your idea of what it can be evolve? Is it evolving with it? Has this story like reached the point where it's just kind of writing itself?
Very much so. There, I had a distinct plan when we set out, and then as we wrote, my editor and I worked very closely on this, Gio, and it kind of took on a life of its own. Some of these characters did for sure, and there were times that we surprised even ourselves writing this sometimes, and Gio and I would send emails back and forth to each other, just screaming about what we've come up with, and just strings of capital letters. So yeah, awesome. It definitely took on a mind of its own and grew out of our hands a little bit. And the place that I could take it after this is much bigger than where we started. Sure.
That's awesome.
So kind of getting into the philosophy of what you're working with here. It's a 2-part question. The first part is, what role in society do you think superheroes and villains play now?
Oh, it can be such a complicated question depending on where you come at it and who you are and where you view some of these things and some of these people. I mean, I think superheroes can be just vitally important, and as not only as on the pedestal inspirations, characters like Superman and Captain America as these lofty ideals, but as ground level inspirations for our everyday life as well. And again, just looking at villains can be such a complicated issue, and where you see villains and then the individuals themselves, because so many of them don't see themselves as villains of their own story, or we only get a piece of their story. We may get their story from false narration, and so we're not getting the real thing. And so you could twist it around and look at it from a different point of view, and end up with a completely different viewpoint of heroes and villains.
So do you think that position in society has changed over the years? Like, do you think that maybe we're picking the wrong heroes? Because a huge portion of this is the people we thought were heroes are actually pieces of shit.
Yeah, like, and for sure, like, we do pick the wrong heroes, and I'm just as guilty of that. I mean, the first time I was on your show, I said, as problematic as he is, Joss Whedon has been one of my biggest inspirations, and now in light of everything, I'm like, wow. And I question things, if I idolize somebody like that so much, and his work, his entire body of work, how much of that might have rubbed off, right? Like, and so I really have to question all kinds of things, and I have to write him off completely. Like, I have to say, I love the body of work that he created before, and I have to focus on the people that he worked with and the other names that were involved in that stuff, and not support anything that he does going forward. Right.
That's right. That's right.
So, like, but he had been such a huge hero of mine. I put him on a pedestal, and so like I said, I'm just as guilty of that as anybody. And so, yeah, I definitely think that we pick the wrong heroes. We put people on pedestals, and we don't let them. We don't allow them to be people for us. We don't allow ourselves to see their flaws, and I think that a lot of times they end up feeding off of that and buying into their own hype, so that they feel like they can do no wrong, and then it just gets deeper and deeper until it's just a mess.
It's so disappointing, especially when you're emotionally invested and like you love their stuff, you love it.
Right.
It's part of who you are now. And then you find out, like, it's just such a terrible blemish. It really is disappointing for fans.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely dealt with that with certain R&B stars and basketball players, and you hear some. I'm like,
Dude,
what are you supposed to do with that?
The John Schaefer Iced Earth thing crushed me.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
With the dude who was at the Capitol riots.
This is one of my favorite bands of all time, and this dude is at the Capitol riots. Like, damn you!
yeah, absolutely. Right, yeah. For sure.
I don't think kind of going off tangent, because I'm going to ask a question that goes back to the story here in a second. But I don't think you have to write off. We'll just say like R. Kelly. Like I'm a '90s teen, and so R. Kelly was huge for me. So I think I can go, man, R. Kelly's music was so awesome, and I loved his R&B through the '90s and early 2000s. And he's a piece of shit that I hope rots in hell, right? So it's like that sentence is just fine to me. So I don't know. I don't beat myself up too hard. I don't think anybody else should either. When your heroes turn out to be pieces of shit.
Individual mileage may vary.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So quick question on Villainous. Are we looking at TV or what? Because I could see this being a really dope ass cartoon.
I don't know. I would love to see something like that come out of it. It go on. I'd love to
setting out pitches.
I don't know. Unfortunately, and fortunately, sometimes Mad Cave owns everything, so I don't have anything to do with that end. Unfortunately, but I'd love to. I'd love to have some sort of input, and definitely, I think it really lends itself to some sort of animation for sure.
Sure. Yeah. I like it because it seems to be like modular almost. Like you can make it for like a rated R kind of for adult, keep the blood, keep the language. Or you can say, you know what? Let's target this because it's still a great story no matter which direction you go. We'll take out some of the blood and decapitations and we'll make it for, the 13-year-olds, So it's good.
Sure. Well, and without spoiling anything, it's funny that you say that, but without spoiling anything, this last issue I think took a much darker turn, right?
Oh yeah.
And there were some scenes that were very dark, and some of the direction that Jeff took it, and maybe part of the editorial team when they were doing edits and things on the artwork, I had a lot of that stuff happen off panel. It was a lot of sound effect only, or you saw the aftermath, but you didn't see the actual action. And they changed that just a little bit, and I think it works. I mean, I think it's incredible, right? But it does change the tone a little bit, and I think change the rating if you were to put it on TV. I think it ups the violence a little bit to see that directly. I mean, when I was a kid, I watched the Batman animated series. And the first time I ever remember seeing animated blood was Mask of the Phantasm.
Yep.
And I remember sitting in the theater, seeing that and going, have I ever seen cartoon blood before? Like, this might be the first. And it was like just mind altering for tiny Stonie. And so when I wrote those scenes, it all happened off panel. So definitely, like you said, modular. You can change it and make it jump ratings for sure.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I like it as well. Speaking of the story, I'm definitely looking forward to having this in trade. I know this might be kind of out of your lane, maybe not. But do you have any idea when the actual TPB is gonna drop?
I do, actually. April 21st.
April 21st.
April 21st. I'm really looking forward to it. Having the entire collected edition and I know a lot of people wait for the trade. So I'm interested to see those people getting the story all at once rather than reading it in individual episodes and what they think and how it flowed that way and things like that. I'm really excited for that. So, yeah.
Awesome.
So I have to read new comics because I just keep up with new comics, but I actually prefer the experience of reading a trade just because it's like binging a Netflix show.
That's right. Yeah, like it used to be, you always waited once per week, but Netflix has ruined that. And this whole WandaVision,
Patience
Attack
is
on
dead.
Titan. Like I'm like, what is going on here? Once a week, it's bullshit.
Yeah, for sure. Like it changes the way you approach some of this stuff and the pacing. I mean, I'm sure it does on the TV end as well. But like when you think about having to sit with episodes, and I've seen this when my family and I go back and binge watch older things that you had to wait a week for the next episode or 6 months for the next season. You got to sit with these things a lot longer, and so the pacing seems different when you're binge watching older shows.
Right. Here's a quick question for you on that trade. Is it going to be either a hardcover or a shiny foil cover? Because I buy those automatically. So
I think it's just going to be the shiny foil cover, but I definitely thought some Mad Cave about a hardcover. I'd love, I'd love the hardcover version myself.
Yeah, I mean, I'll buy. It really doesn't even matter. Sometimes I buy a hardcover because it's a hardcover. And like, what'd you buy? I'm like, I don't know. It went in my truck, so that's dope. That's dope. So we talked a little bit about waiting once per week, and the one that's really killing the world around us in the midst of a pandemic is WandaVision. So I have a question for you. Is WandaVision bringing in the mutants, or is it all what is it, a red herring?
Oh, there's so many ways it could take it, right? And like I'm in love with this show, and the pacing is insane and incredible, and I want to throw things at my screen as soon as you see that the error message at the end credits, right? Yeah, you see that come up, and I just when they decide to end it just kills me, just
every time.
They could easily bring mutants in this direction, or it could be a breadcrumb that leads into bigger things that eventually. I mean, there's all kinds of rumors, right? But there's rumors she may have something to do with the Doctor Strange movie, which this could feed directly into. That sort of thing. I find so she brought back Pietro in that last episode, right? Or no, episode before.
Peter,
and Peter, right? So I found it interesting the way they handled that, and the way they handled his memories, and the way like he expressed things. It was almost a combination of the two Quicksilvers. Sometimes.
Right.
It's definitely. I'm definitely kind of at a loss. Like I really don't know what it all means. I've heard a lot of theories, and maybe there's some truth to some of them. But also, I mean, the MCU does what the MCU does, So we're just have to wait and see.
For sure, yeah. And it could be a smashing together of these things. If they're coming up with a theory that all Quicksilvers are pieces of the same Quicksilver, and you could mash them together into the same person. Then mashing multiverses together, you could have
like that Jet Li movie.
Yeah. Well, the one.
Yeah. The one, which is actually really, really fucking good, by the way. But
Oh yeah.
On the subject of the MCU, we're gonna get back to talking about you in a second, but just real quick.
Sure.
What's the worst MCU movie?
I get in fights online over this. Because this is hard for me, because there are movies that objectively are worse that I find that there are pieces of that I love, and so they're much higher on my list. Almost universally, people will put Thor: The Dark World on the bottom, or very near the bottom. And
are you about to say Guardians of the Galaxy is the worst one? Is that what you're about to say? No.
Hey, the internet's watching, Stonie. So
exactly.
Tread carefully.
No, it's the Iron Man movies for me, unfortunately.
All of them?
Not all of them. 2 and 3 are probably like really, really low for me. I just, especially 3, I didn't dig that much. I might put 2 over 3, probably just for the suitcase suit. That was
I hear you.
But those were probably at the bottom for me. No, I loved Guardians of the Galaxy. I actually ran a fan blog with some friends of mine for Guardians of the Galaxy when the movie first came out, and the second one made me cry.
Yeah.
But people will always put the Dark World very low, and there were parts of that movie I loved. And Loki is one of my favorite characters, so if you put him in a movie, it's automatically going to be in my top 10. So
I think I would have liked the Dark World if I didn't already know who Malekith is and what he should be like.
Yeah, it's a fact.
Yeah,
a
that
fact.
was a waste of Christopher Eccleston, I think.
Big time.
I mean,
that sucked.
but you can say that about almost all of Thor's villains. I mean, Laufey
And Iron Man's
being played by Comfior, he was and Iron Man.
Underutilized.
But Laufey, I thought was a great character. Like I still have ringtones that were pieces of his speech on my phone because it was just a great character that you saw for like that long and then was just killed off. And so yeah,
I know the movie
scenes with Frigga in Dark World, and then lines like "trust in my rage" and like, I mean, I love the movie, even though it's probably one of the worst MCU movies.
How did the Incredible Hulk not get mentioned in this conversation?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. But the thing is, Incredible Hulk is universal, but canon to the MCU. So a lot of people don't want to bring it up because I think it was Blurred Without Fear was on Blurred Girl's Twitch show, and I brought it up, and they were like, "Doesn't count. That's Universal." And I'm like, "But MCU, it's still and that." But I don't care. Like even Dark World, people say Dark World. I don't argue for it because
Sure, yeah.
But if Edward Norton's Incredible Hulk exists, as long as that exists, no other movie is ever that bad.
True.
It's so fucking garbage. It's so bad.
Do you think it was worse than the Eric Bana Hulk?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't seen it in a long time, so I'd have to watch them side by side before I decide if I really hated
Eric
it.
Banner's like that was when he was
That was the only Universal non-connected to the MCU one that happened right before the Incredible Hulk. It wasn't a good movie, but I think I liked it better. I don't know. I haven't watched either of those in so long.
All right. So, have you ever written like fan fiction for an existing franchise, or have you ever wanted to? Do you have something ready to go?
Not that I'll admit to. I've sat down.
Are you a
and wrote out
brony?
ideas. I wasn't for a long time. My kids watched it, and then I remember I was actually writing issues of Villainous. They were watching it behind me in the living room, and I suddenly heard John Delancey, who played Q on Star Trek, and I'm a huge fan of. And as soon as I heard his voice, I was like, "Wait, it's John Delancey. Q is on TV. What are the kids watching?" And I spun around, and it's My Little Ponies. And then a few days later, it was Patton Oswalt. And so I'm in the living room watching.
And ever since then,
so,
that's it.
That's it. Yeah. Patton
no
Oswalt
shame.
had a character who went to like a Comic-Con for My Little Ponies, and I sat through the whole thing and watched it, and I was like, "This is amazing! How did I miss this?" So,
bronies and furries are that just seem to keep coming up on our show. Yeah, it's just how it is.
I mean, no shame.
So
I've written outlines for stories. I haven't actually sat down and wrote out fan fiction because part of me it's a thing. Like part of me is like, what if you ever get the chance to do that? You don't really want your whatever Deadpool and Spider-Man shipping fan fiction out there in the world if you ever get a chance to actually write these characters. So I have ideas. I write things down. I sit down and I fantasize about what my fan fiction would be, but I've never actually written it out.
So what can we expect from you beyond Villainous? What other what's the turn of phrase people use? What other pans do you have on the stove or something like that?
I've got a couple of things I can't talk about yet. I do have a later this year. So late last year we did Cthulhu Invades Oz. I colored a story for a friend of mine, David Galliano, also from Mad Cave, did Savage Bastards. He asked me to color a story for him on this, and I had an amazing time. Met some incredible people, And promoting that Kickstarter was a whole event in and of itself. And the gentleman who runs it, Travis Gibb, asked me to write a story instead of color it for Cthulhu Invades Wonderland. So I'm super excited. We'll have that probably the end of next year. There's another anthology that I'm going to be a part of that I don't think has been announced yet, and I've been approached by some other publishers to pitch some stories. So I hope that something will come of that, and we'll see. So
we just got done. We just talked to David Hazan, Shane Connery, and Luca Romano about Nottingham, also from Mad Cave. We're greatly enjoying the output from Mad Cave. That is a cool publisher. I think it's gonna be the next big thing. That's the vibe I'm getting.
Sure. I mean, they've got some incredible titles and some incredible talent, and they're branching out more and more and bringing in bigger names, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with them over the next couple of years.
Cool.
Dope. Ladies, gentlemen, and NBs, that is Stonie Williams from Mad Cave Studios. Don't forget to check out Villainous #5, dropping February 24th. Stonie, thank you so much for joining us and giving us some of your time. That was fun.
Thank you guys so much. Always a blast to be here.
Always a blast. And hopefully we see you again sometime soon.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Don't forget to wash your hands, continue to wear your mask, go get vaccinated if you can. And like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. We're out of here.
Peace.
If you want to hear interviews from industry pros, get first looks, and have access to endless comic content, wake up. Please wake up. You're in a coma. Your mother misses you.